without hopefully giving too much away, I can promise you that Elizabeth Warren has a 6-episode arc, and she's both the A stories and the B stories. To be honest, it's like, I thought it was a little much because we really didn't have that much to do, because it's just like a lot of Elizabeth Warren sort of taking down big, underregulated companies, but that's the way they wanted to go. So HBO's pretty liberal with swearing and stuff, like, and content, but Elizabeth Warren, they had to like kind of edit around because she has a mouth on her. She called herself the new Joffrey. She just kept saying, I'm the new Joffrey. We're like, what does that mean? She's like, I'm gonna take, it's here, I'm gonna take it here. Actually, I'd like to revise what I said earlier. I think this season's been a fiasco. Hi, this is Zach Woods, and you're watching In Studio with The Hollywood Reporter.
Hey, Zach Woods.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So we just finished, everyone watching, they just finished episode 3 of Silicon Valley. Jared is going through a lot. Tell me about episode 2. Let's start with episode 2, where you kind of snap.
Yeah.
What really made him snap? Was it the breakup with Richard? Because you went from like this very like maternal, the whole series, you are the self-sacrificing maternal character, and then you kind of are like a crazy ex-boyfriend. What was it? The breakup? Was it what he was saying about Gwart? What was your take?
I think it's a hybrid. I think like the way I have thought about the season when I was acting it is that basically like Jared realizes he needs Richard too much, and so he has to, it's almost like amputating a limb. I did a scissors thing, but I don't think you do amputations with scissors, hopefully not. And so he has to sort of protect Richard from his own neediness, but that doesn't really work in life. If you love someone, you can't just sort of make a decision to stop loving them. So I think he needs Richard so badly, and it's so threatening when Richard comes over, because it's like, it is like an ex where you're like, I'm not, you still make my heart flip-flop. Yeah, and then when he starts saying mean things about Gwart, I think his vulnerability converts to a sort of maternal rage on Gwart's behalf, and then it's just an endless torrent of prison slang and lanky aggression.
Little bitch! I'm sorry, Jared. This is a place of business. Oh my God! I pump lead, Peckerwood, mother.
What were some of your inspirations? Like, what were you sort of, what were you drawing from that? Like, did you have influences or inspiration?
For the freak out thing?
Yeah.
Well, we were talking a lot about, like, I've always felt that Jared is they hint a lot at his various dark pasts that he's had, and it sounds like he was a sex worker, and at least some members of his family were incarcerated. I feel like he has a lot of experience with the incarcerated community, and so I think the thing I kept thinking about is like prison, like it like takes him back to whatever brush with the penal system he had. So like a lot of the stuff that we were saying, that Jared's saying in that scene is like, and I'm not sure how much of it made it into the final cut, but it's stuff like, you want to dance on the blacktop. Homie, right, I'm state raised. These are all, I think, prison slang, or like get checked in, which means like enter into protective custody. It's like the worst thing you can say to somebody, because it means they're either like a sex offender or like a coward. So it's like just a lot of prison stuff. I feel like in his head, like when Richard insulted Gwart, he was just like back at San Quentin visiting his grandma at Christmas, and someone stepped to her, and he had to defend her.
Do you remember how much was written on the page? Because I know you, obviously you have a background in improv, and the guys have said, I think in our interview that we did with you guys last year, everyone unanimously decided that you do the most improving of lines. Do you remember how much from that scene where you're just screaming, were you improving also? Did you do some takes?
Like the vast majority of the show is scripted, so I don't want to be misleading. Like they had all this great stuff in the original script, which was like, I'm gonna knock your teeth out, you bitch-made motherfucker. Which is has a strange elegance to it. I'm gonna knock your teeth out, you bitch-made motherfucker. Like the factory where you were made was a bitch. Anyway, So there were all these great lines, and so I don't remember. It sort of was like once we all got excited about it, then everyone was sort of like pitching different things and talking about like, well, what if you did this? What if you did that? I remember Thomas like pitched one where like Jared is just like instead of like being upset, is just like cold and like a trained killer who's just like done this a million times. So the vast majority of everything is scripted, but they're very indulgent with us in that they'll let us noodle around a lot.
All right. Well, whatever happened there was definitely working.
Thanks.
Okay. And then in episode 3, you're kind of also Jared also is just not quite at such a 10, but still very different from the maternal loving guy that we know. What were you when you first read that script? What were your thoughts also and your inspiration for how you're going to play that episode?
With the sunglasses,
yeah, with sunglasses,
and being sort of standoffish.
Yeah. And then the tear.
Well, so for this season, I sort of thought that the arc between Jared and Richard is kind of I can't quit you. I'm going to try and quit you a million different ways. I'm going to literally quit the company. I'm going to assault you. I'm going to wear sunglasses and be aloof. I'm going to find somebody else. And none of it works. He keeps trying to create distance, ultimately to protect Richard and the company from his own overwhelming, sort of disorienting affection for them. And it doesn't work. And so I think that was sort of the overarching idea. And then I always I know it's a half-hour comedy, so I don't want to start talking about it like it's King Lear or something. But this is the thing that really made me interested about Jared's arc this season. I think one of the difficult parts of loving another person is subjecting them to your own inadequacies and your own imperfections and the ways in which you know you're limited, and watching them have to deal with your mess and your broken parts and all that stuff. I think that's a very, very, very difficult thing to do. And a lot of times when people talk about love stories, it's like, oh, is that a deal breaker? Is that a deal breaker in the other person? But I think equally difficult is just being like, this is the best I got, is me, here I am, is it enough? I don't know, probably not. I found it sort of moving in a bizarro world way that Jared is having to learn how to subject the people he loves, namely Richard, to his own imperfections, and to accept that in order to love somebody, you have to be willing to be imperfect next to them and in response to them.
Why does he love Richard so much? Why?
I think, and I just get so insufferable when we're talking about Jared because I would get so earnest talking about him, but I think with Jared, he was in this sort of gray world, working at Hooli as Gavin Belson's henchman. And then he saw Richard Hendricks come in with this idea that he was really passionate about and not take the big money. And I think for him, that was like, oh, it can be like this? Like, it's like a whole new world became available, And I think he imprinted on him like a duckling on a mother duck and was just like, this is my guy. And he represents beyond just the charms of the individual, he represents a whole type of sort of idealistic conviction and passion and determination. And so I think he loves him for all those reasons.
And what about, you were talking about the arc.
Yeah.
Are you sort of happy with when you read that last episode, what was that like? And are you sort of content with where where we're going to watch him land, I guess? At the end.
Yeah, my mother once did this thing that I think she didn't even know. She was like, it kind of killed me, and she didn't even know she was doing it. She was like, having kids is funny, because first they're here, and she sort of gestured to like a womb, and then she's like, and then they're here, and then they're there, and then they're there, and then they're there, and then they're, and she sort of pantomimed like the physical loss of your child from having them inside you to having them on your knee to having them growing up to having them kind of off in their adult lives. And I was like, oh fuck, Mom, what are you doing? Like, that's so beautiful and sad. And I suppose there is a version of that when you play a character, which is like, the first season they're inside you, you're trying to get them out, however violently, and then before you know it, you're saying goodbye to them, and you've loved them in whatever weird way actors love their characters, and so you want to know that when you're reaching the phase where you're like letting them go and they're going off into whatever fictional universe they'll continue to exist in without you.
Yeah.
That they've landed in a good place. And I was so happy with the finale, not just for Jared, but for all the characters. I feel like they did a really good job of finding an ending that felt honest and unsentimental and meaningful to me, at least as someone who is invested in the fictional world of the show.
Yeah. Do you have like a favorite memory? I don't know if it's a scene that you were filming or just what are some of your favorite memories from the series as a whole? Like when you look back, what's
Yeah,
what's
it's funny.
that
We were
thing you
just
go
talking
to?
about this.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to keep.
No.
We were just talking about this. Like, there's so many.
Yeah.
Well, one is somehow we got this idea that we should get these jackets, these horrible purple jackets that said "Rude Boys on the Lot" and had dice on the back of them. And because someone had given us free electric scooters, weirdly, and so we were like, we're going to be a gang. And we all got these Rude Boys on the Lot jackets, and we got these scooters, and we would ride them around until like Sony security was like, "Can you please not do that?" And we'd be like, "Yep, sorry, no, we apologize, like not really living up to our name." But then one day we were shooting a scene, and we were at this like weird old power plant, and the sun was setting, and we had a lot of setup time. They were setting up the lights, and we all started riding in formations around the power plant in our Rude Boys on the Lot jacket, like doing these like echelon left, echelon right, form of V.
Yeah.
And I remember just thinking like, this is the most spectacularly lucky life that I'm leading in this moment. Like, it's beautiful and I'm with people I love and we're in these dumb jackets on these idiotic scooters and we're like in formation.
How do you, I know you've done improv for a long time. What's your trick to keeping such a straight face? Because I don't know, I can't,
Editing. I mean,
never
you
can keep a
laugh,
straight
but then they cut it out. So
Oh, really?
But no, I guess it's like, you know what it is? Well, it's two things. It's like either you laugh or the audience laughs, kind of, right? So if someone else in a scene does something really funny, you really, really, really don't want to mess it up by laughing because who knows if it'll happen in that particular way again and the alchemy of that moment will be lost. So you want to just like, on behalf of that moment, you just don't want to like, don't. And also I think because it's probably in interviews a liability because I think I can get maybe slightly self-serious, but I really care about Jared, and so when I'm acting the scenes, I try my best to really invest in the stakes as Jared would see them, and then hopefully after the fact enjoy it. But like I try to sort of treat it like a drama. Like my favorite, often dramas are actually funnier to me than comedies because it's like just the weird little minutia of human behavior can be so funny.
Sure.
And if someone's like asking for a laugh, if it feels too thirsty, then you can start to feel a little like. So I try to just like commit to the stakes of it as hard as I can, and hopefully that's funny. There's probably some jokes that I've like left on the table because I was being very grave and somber about my performance, but it makes it easier not to laugh at least.
All right. Well, thank you for that. So you've played Jared for 6 seasons now.
Yeah.
What are you up to next? Where can we see you? What you doing?
I did another HBO show called Avenue 5 with Armando Iannucci, who gave me my first job.
Wow.
And so it's back in London. We shot it in London.
Amazing.
And it's a comedy about space tourism. And it's with all these great people. Hugh Laurie's in it and Rebecca Front, who's this incredible British actress who I've loved for such a long time. It's like a murderer's row of like all these incredible actors who I was so psyched to get to work with. And then I did a part in Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Will Ferrell did this movie called Downhill, which is an adaptation of the movie Force Majeure, and I did a part in that.
Cool.
And
Is that also a comedy or?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
cool.
think so. I mean, we'll see, right? I think it's like a dark comedy, though. I don't think
Okay.
it's like. It was so exciting to get to like Will Ferrell is like.
Yeah.
Of course, right? Everyone feels the way I mean, I love him. I used to watch his like SNL Best of DVD with my family, like on Christmas Eve, and but was so cool. Do you ever see Stranger Than Fiction?
Yeah.
He is such an honest, interesting actor.
He was great in that. Emma
He's
Thompson?
he's incredible. It's like the versatility is like really bordering on obnoxious. And so to get to see him play a part that was sort of like, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus too. They're both playing these parts that are like it's not just comedy. I think
That's
it's
why I was
really
curious,
funny, but
'cause
it's
they
like
both have that edge
Yeah.
to them, you know, where they could go, like, they're just such good actors that
Yes.
it could kind of go either way.
And I think it's going to be really funny. Like the script was really funny. It was by Jesse Armstrong, who wrote Succession and Peep Show and stuff.
Oh, man.
But it's like, but they also are so alive in it. It's really cool.
Well, that's great. I'm
Yeah.
really excited to see that. Thank you for giving us all the gift of Jared Dunn.
Thank you for giving me the,
It's great. You're great in the show, and everyone continue to watch the final season of Silicon Valley Sundays on HBO.